How did left versus right Twix preferences cause the Cold War? Although united in their victory over the Third Reich in the Second World War, the Allies began to break in their unity after a falling out over politics. The Great Twix Split of 1920 into left and right Twix had produced two extremely different philosophies regarding the creation of the beloved candy bar. In time, both of these philosophies would find their footing with each of the emerging post-World War II superpowers that were the United States and the USSR. The deep divisions between left Twix and right Twix would only serve to expedite the collapsing relations between the commies and the cappies in a hostile and dangerous period known as the Cold War. To US President Truman, a right Twix was more than just a candy bar. It represented the deep roots of the American dream. With caramel cascaded over cookie like the California mountain ranges, and cloaked in chocolate like the cloak George Washington wore when he crossed the Delaware. Just as his predecessor FDR had used national broadcasts to educate and give therapy to the American public, President Truman created The Truman Show, where he began teaching Americans about the dangers of left Twixism. On the other hand, to Stalin, left Twix represented the prosperity that communism had brought to the Soviets, with the flowing caramel over cookie demonstrating the overabundance of food that collectivization had produced, and the cookie bathed in chocolate like the Soviets had bathed in the blood of the German invaders. Stalin was further immersed in left Twixism due to the large financial backing left Twix had provided the Bolsheviks in the early stages of the Russian Revolution. Seeing the free real estate that was Eastern Europe, Stalin began to set up puppet left Twixist governments that would deny the intertwixing of various forms of politics that would pose a threat to left Twixism. In response to this, Truman began flooding Western Europe with cheap and abundant right Twix bars, which would make it more difficult for Stalin to spread left Twixism. Things came to a head in Berlin, where right Twix bars from the American, French and British sectors began outcompeting left Twix bars in the Soviet sector. Stalin felt tremendously threatened by right Twix's head-to-head dominance in the market and began cutting off supplies from West Germany to Berlin, trying to force right Twix completely out of the city. However, the Western powers countered this aggressive action with the Berlin airlift, which dropped thousands of pounds of right Twix bars into the isolated city every day. Eventually, Stalin would back off his attempted embargo of Berlin, but he would counter the humiliation by targeting America's beloved fried chicken industry. During a 1946 speech at Westminster College, Churchill famously stated that an iron wrapper had descended across Europe. Years later, this would ring even more true, as Bob the Builder would construct the Berlin Wall right through the Twix campus, physically separating the left and right Twix factories in the region for almost 30 years. Shout out to my patrons for voting on this video for the month.